stronger than that. Trouble comes screaming, we always holler back. Don't let it get us down or throw us off track. When we stand together, we're stronger than that. Oh yeah, stronger than that. Oh yeah. The Dow's dropping fast, markets have crashed, jobs are lost and hopes are dashed. The media saying there's the end.
Welcome, Fort Wayne, to a new program being aired tonight called We the People, brought to you by the Fort Wayne 912 Group. I have here with us Kent Summers and Steve Carey, Judy Ross, and Lisa Summers, and I am Carmen Young. And we'll be talking tonight about what is the Fort Wayne 912 Group and what is it all about, where did it come from, why do we have it, and why should we want the public to be involved with us. So to start off with, what and why, when was the group inaugurated? When was the group started? Can you tell me anything about this, Judy?
Yes, the Fort Wayne 912 had its beginnings in September of 2009 when during one of the monologues that Glenn Beck was doing back at that time, he talked about remembering back to September the 12th, 2001, the day after 9/11. And on that day, September the 11th, 2001, the following day, September the 12th, we weren't Republicans, we were not Democrats, we were not black, nor were we white, we were not rich, nor were we poor. We were Americans, and we were united at that time to work together to help each other and try and solve the problems that had befallen our country with the disaster on 9/11. We believe, the 912 believes very strongly in the basic foundation, the bedrock of our society, which is our Constitution. And the Constitution was written by the Founding Fathers, and the 912 principles come from our Judeo-Christian values, which the Founding Fathers brought with them from Europe, and it was their guidelight to forming our Constitution. That's where we come up with the 9 principles and 12 values that make up the Fort Wayne 912.
Thank you. Steve, what was your reason for wanting to join the group?
Well, too many. The reason I joined the group is like-minded, first of all, and the things in this country are unbelievable. The government has been flip-flopped, and the federal government was supposed to be limited government, and the local people, that's where the power was supposed to be.
You mean according to the Constitution?
According to the Constitution. And we flip-flopped that, and it's exactly the opposite. Now the federal government is controlling every aspect of our life, and there's so many things going on I can't keep up, but it's time we've got to get back to the Constitution. And everybody here may not agree with all the principles exactly, but we are all like-minded enough, and we all are here to try and help inform the public of hopefully getting back to the Constitution. Not hopefully, we have to.
Thank you. Lisa, why did you want to be a part of this group?
I have a strong belief in the principles that are the foundation of our group. I think that the principles is a framework that can help to unite our country, and that's something that I fervently believe in, that our country can be united. We don't have to agree on all of these principles, but if there's a majority of the principles that we find that we can agree on, then that can serve as a foundation to bring people together. Our country is supposed to be the United States, and unfortunately at this time it seems that we're divided. I know that some people say we're more divided now than ever. I think perhaps when the country was founded, they might have felt as divided, but they were able to still come together on this set of principles that they set forth in the Constitution. And I firmly believe that there's more that unites us and binds us together than there is that divides us. And if we can just focus on those things that unite us, which is the majority of our principles, not all of them, that's okay, you don't have to believe in all of them, but if you can believe in the majority of them, then it gives us a foundation to unite.
And what was your reason for joining the group?
Well, I have my joking comment, which would be that my wife made me go to the meeting. But the more important piece was we have 3 wonderful children. And I'm going to say as a father, I think I started falling down on my duties to protect my children and to educate them and to do what was possible to make sure that I leave a better country for them as we pass than I started with. And given the fact that I consider myself a relatively educated voter, found that I was far from educated. I'd gotten lazy and sort of let the process take its place, and had learned very quickly that there are several issues that touch me individually, our families individually, that I had no idea what was going on. And so getting together with like-minded folks who bound themselves to these principles and values gave us at least a guidepost or a direction that you could always go back to any decision you start thinking about and say, how does it fall within these principles and values, and am I following those? And it gives you a nice little foundation to go forward. So I'm really doing it for the country as a whole, but bottom line for my family and my children.
Well, that makes sense. The family is the bedrock of society. Where goes the family, goes society. Thank you very much.
I would like to interject. As you can tell, I'm the senior member of the table here, and I have to admit that for many years, too many years, my generation, we were asleep at what was happening within our country, how our country had begun to turn away from the things that I grew up with, the values that were set forth to me by my parents and my grandparents, and many things happened on our watch. I think we have to be the generation that calls to the younger generation today, that says you have to begin to wake up. You have to begin to see what is happening to the basic fundamental principles of our country. Don't stay asleep like my generation did.
I would like to also say you weren't the only one. Our generation, my generation, is just as much at fault as hers. Same thing. We fell asleep. We're allowing this to happen to us.
Right.
We are.
Well, if you want to live as a free, if you want to to self-govern, and if you want to live as a free society, to make your own choices and your own decisions, then you have a responsibility. You have to understand the operation of your country and the operation of government, and you have to be a part of it, or you're incapable of governing yourself. If you don't get involved, you're incapable of remaining free.
So you value being an informed citizen then?
Oh.
I didn't realize how much.
Immensely.
It is interesting how many people don't take the time to look at the issues, to examine what does a candidate stand for before they press the button in the ballot box.
Sure.
They hear a name in the news. They don't know if he's good or bad. They simply vote.
Right.
I teach citizenship in the community, and I've been very intrigued by how many people who are born and raised in the community, born and raised in the United States, don't know the answers to the citizenship questions.
That's sad.
And
It's
very
embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. Yeah.
The first time that I attended a meeting and they began to talk about the Constitution, this was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I am embarrassed to say that I had not opened the Constitution and looked at it for probably 50 years. I didn't know any longer what was in it. I had not done any rereading of the Declaration of Independence, our Bill of Rights, all of the things that have made us who we are today. as a society. Those things I never looked at. I have read it more in the past 3 years than I have in years.
So from what you're saying, is it correct to say that you think one of the purposes of your group is to inform the community, to educate the community?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's our biggest purpose.
Right, raising awareness. Just say, look at some of this stuff. You have to start looking at some of it.
I think we've used the phrase, and we like to facilitate information, transfer of information.
That's good. Yeah.
Getting the word out, whatever the topic might be. We don't want to get necessarily involved directly in what I would call the political process, but you have to be educated. You must understand the consequences and what is trying to be accomplished by various activities going on, and it's too much for any one individual to try to do themselves. I think everyone in our group, I know at this table, every one of us have felt alone in this whole process before we united as a group. You would sit here and, at least my wife and I might have a conversation about something, but then to get another person's opinion, get Steve's opinion or Judy's opinion or any other member from our group's opinion, again, more discussion breeds more information and begets more knowledge, and that's probably the most important thing. And getting this information out to the public is why we're here today, basically, Carmen.
Well, Lisa, do you consider this a political group?
No, not at all. We pay attention to political issues, but we're not a group that's devoted to any party, not in the slightest. So no, we're not a political group, but we feel it's our duty to pay attention to the political process because that's part of the way that our society functions, and something that I know I personally did not have any interest in nor participate in. I'm embarrassed to say I tried to sleep through most of my high school government classes, and that was
Carmen, the
last
problem
time.
is politics is the problem.
Yeah,
the solution is morality. Politics is the problem, and for us to fix this country, we're going to have to somehow figure out how to well, I can't say take politics out, but figure out how to do it right. Because politics is the problem. There's no doubt about it.
We need to pay attention to the process of government. I don't even like the word politics
I
or
don't
politicians. I think most people consider it to be an ugly word. It has become an ugly word. But the practice of understanding our government is what's necessary for self-governance. And for me, that's the most important thing. Is the most important principle that we have is, in my estimation, liberty and freedom. And that's something that if you're a person who believes in freedom, which I strongly do, and I think everyone does. I think who doesn't? Because of course the antithesis would be slavery. Who supports slavery? Hopefully no one, and no one in this country. And it's something that if you believe in freedom and you believe in your right to be free, then you have a responsibility to understand how to be free, how to live free, how to operate in a society that is free, and that you govern yourself.
I understand that the political parties do not vet candidates. Do you vet candidates in this group?
I wouldn't call it vetting. The last election, we put out a voter guide. We asked, I think there were 12 or 15 questions, Kent, weren't there, that we...
About 15, I believe.
About 15 of them. And we sent out to every candidate, local, state, federal. Well, no, we didn't go... Yeah, we did go federal.
Anyone that touched down the county, basically.
Yeah.
So basically our state senators and reps, as well as...
Anybody running.
Well, and then basically the House, the federal
Yeah.
positions, but governor. But
On the principles we believe in, where do you stand? And then, before the election, we went door to door and handed them out, and to inform the public of where each candidate stood. And some didn't even reply, which is on there too. There was no reply.
I think it's important, Carmen, that we listed these 15 questions, I believe it was, and basically collated all the answers, put the written responses on our website, and then finally put out the voter guide. Notice I never said we told what the Fort Wayne 912 position was. Again,
don't have
we're
a
not here.
position.
We don't have a position as a group per se. What we do is we highlight, and again, it basically goes back to the principles and values. Anyone in our group would go back and look at these and say, this candidate believes in X, and that's contrary to our position on that, and consequently they would probably, in their opinion, would not consider that a good candidate they would want to support. But that was one of the things we thought was great about informing and facilitating information out to the public about who these candidates were. And to be honest with you, I think it was well received by those that
Oh,
took
yeah.
them, but our concern was that not enough people had access to that information, and we thought we'd like to get that more information out to the public.
You've made reference, several of you, to the principles that you stand on in this group. Tell me about some of these principles. Which one resonates the most with you? Judy, what do you think?
Although I believe in God, that's the principle that resonates with me the most personally. It's not a prerequisite of anybody joining with our group that you have to have the same belief that I do. But I believe very, very, very sincerely that our rights and our liberties were given to me by my Creator, and I believe that with all my heart. And I believe that our Constitution was written with the Judeo-Christian values that, to me, those values came from various parts of Scripture that I could tell people about. That's the most important one to me, but it might not necessarily be the same one to Lisa or Steve or Kent. That's mine.
What does natural law have to do with accepting God's hierarchy of an order of our lives? I'm looking at nature.
Okay.
Some people don't believe in God in the same way that we believe in God. But if you look at nature, there's a specific order. Mother chickens look after the baby chickens, and nobody interferes with that. That's her responsibility. The mother dog looks after the baby dogs, and nobody interferes with that. That's her responsibility. And somehow we think that mankind is different, that we need to have an intruder come in because, the family structure is not good enough.
As Judy said, in her firm belief in God and that God gave her these rights, some people, and I think these are people that can still, again, unite with our group under our principles. You don't have to necessarily have a belief in the Bible, and you don't have to believe that your rights came from God. You can believe that they're self-evident, as is written in our Declaration of Independence. You don't have to believe that they came from our Creator, but you don't believe that they came from government. That would be one thing that would probably not be something that would be supported in our principles, and somebody that we, unless they could change that opinion, we couldn't unite with, because one of our principles is limited government. And the government doesn't give you your rights. If you believe that the government gives man his rights, then that means that the government has the right to define what they are and take them away.
Take them away.
And we don't believe that. We believe that your rights are either biblical and God-given or self-evident, such that you have the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness as outlined in the Constitution. But if you if you have a government, and if you can't self-govern and you believe in a government that can be all-powerful, I don't remember who said it, but a government big enough to give you everything you want is big enough to take away everything you have. And we firmly believe that government should be limited.
I'll answer this too. I also come to it with God and faith, and to me, the rest of the principles and values. To me, God is the principles and values. That's where it's automatic for me. And also, family is very sacred to me too. This is about God and family to me.
Explain that one.
Well,
Family is the ultimate authority.
Right. Family is the ultimate authority. The
Within the
government seems
home,
to think that they're going to become the parent and the sole purpose of my kids and grandkids. That's my job to expound on that. And it isn't the government's job isn't to raise my kids or even mess with them. That's my job.
Right.
And the family to me, that's everything to me. And through my family, like I said, God all these things come to me, 9 principles, 12 values. If you believe in God, to me, that they're already there. Mm-hmm. They're just already there.
One of the founding fathers said that the Constitution was written for a moral people. Can you explain that?
For moral people. Yeah. When man is imperfect, and therefore we need to have a set of laws we follow. And the Constitution provides that ultimate authority of laws from which we govern ourselves. But again, we've talked about there are responsibilities that each individual is required to have, and those responsibilities are to self-control and to respect those individual rights of other people, whether it's property right or the right to life and liberty. So.
One of the principles is to be more honest every day. How can we expect politicians to embrace a character or virtue that we don't find valuable?
I agree, and that's morality. That this country is morally bankrupt. You're right.
I find it interesting to see individuals stand in front of the press corps every day in Washington, D.C., and to mince words or parse words, redefine words, and to blatantly be dishonest. Say what you mean and mean what you say. I think that's we've talked about it in our household that being honest is a strong virtue that must be followed. And our kids get in trouble, but let's not hide it. Let's not try to lie about it. Let's come forth with it. And the punishment obviously is for what you've done, but there's a little bit of reward in it from not being for being honest with us in the first place. Our youngest doesn't necessarily follow that last time, but that's her.
I think that's the thing about our group that makes our group unique and sets us apart from other groups, maybe like Tea Party groups. Though we believe in similar principles, but our principles are outlined, these 9 principles. And when I look at these, I think, what's not to unite on? How we should be able to unite. Who doesn't believe that you should be an honest person? I mean, I know there are some people who don't, but it's something that people ought to strive for. Who doesn't believe free speech is another one of our principles. I think as Americans, most of us believe in free speech, or hopefully all of us believe in free speech. We believe that the family, whatever your family unit is, you should be in charge, and that should be a message that should resonate across the parties, and it should resonate with everybody, in my opinion. Justice is another one of our principles that's near and dear to my heart, that we have equal justice for everyone. No one is above the law. Some people believe that they are, and they're not. They shouldn't be. That's one of the things that makes our country unique, in that we are a republic. We're a nation of laws, and everyone should follow the law. That's one of the things that makes America good, and that's another one of our principles, America. And that belief in the Constitution and self-governance and equal justice. I'm not sure what there is in our set of principles that we shouldn't be able to unite on, at least 7 or 8 of them. And I'd like to see a time when we can bring our whole country back together, like the day after 9/11, when we were all united.
What you said is interesting, because Americans take for granted that we expect honesty. But I work with immigrants throughout the community who come from other cultures in many parts of the world, and honesty is not necessarily the norm in many places. And that's why they come here, and when they go to a bank in the United States, they can expect to get the right amount of money that they're supposed to get. And simple things like that we take for granted.
Freedom and self-governance are not the norm in other parts of the world.
Yes,
We're
correct.
a unique experience here. There was one of the books that we often refer to, and that we do a book study on, is called The 5,000-Year Leap, and that's a leap of 5,000 years from the time to a society where we believe in self-governance and that we believe in freedom, man's freedom, and that these principles are self-evident, and that's something that's not typical across the world.
I'd like to real quick say that on his point, that this is not Washington, D.C. where you find dishonesty, and your local government's the same way. We'll be reporting, one of our goals here is to report on local, because it starts locally. We need to flip-flop, start local up to federal. But that's local is just as bad. And on your point of honesty and stuff, the politicians, equal justice, politicians in Hollywood, all you got to do is apologize and move on. Apologize 10 times,
Or wait
move
for
on.
the citizens to forget.
Yeah. Apologize and move on.
Seems as though
No punishment, apologize and move
the
on.
ends justify the means way too often. That's unfortunate.
Lisa, you said that family was important. To belong to your group, do you have to have a traditional American family?
Oh, no. I think, as I said before, your household and your family, as you define them, in my opinion, and I think is the majority of opinions in our group, is something that we welcome, or we should, or we strive for. As Ken said, you know, we're not perfect people, but we do strive to try to unite our country. And if we can just if we can focus on these principles that bind us together, then we can be united again, like we were in the past.
Thank you very much. It's been good being together and discussing these things. If anybody in Fort Wayne would like to find out more about the Fort Wayne Area 912 group, we have a website. It's www.fortwayne912, and spell out each word. And you can find out lots of information. There's articles to read, there's videos to watch, and there's also Facebook that you can follow us on. And we'd love to have you join us. We meet once a month on Hillegas Road at the Classic Cafe on the third Tuesday at 6:30. And anybody in the community is welcome to come and join us.
Please come.
Yes, please. Come.
Please come. Yes.
Thanks, Carmen.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Carmen.
Life on love, for hope and faith. This is the start of the future we'll make, 'cause we're stronger than that. Trouble comes screaming.